part 2 of a 3-part series on the French Foreign Legion from a jarhead's perspective. Let's get going.
And to this end, the recruiting officers have access to Interpol police records. Searching for individuals on the police's computer files takes barely a few hours. It turns a blind eye to lesser misdemeanors. For a few, it's a chance to set the counter to 0 on nobody else's business.
You know, that's pretty cool. So you don't have like a waiver. You're not getting in on a conditional basis. You get in, they say you're in the Legion. Like they said in the first video, and check below for that, is you get a new identity to include if you're French. Like I said, it's kind of like a Jason Bourne thing. Pretty cool.
Hurry up, hurry up.
On applique le garde-vous quand je montrais déjà.
Come on, stand to attention like I've shown you before.
C'est comme ça je montrais le garde-vous. Qu'est-ce que tu veux?
Is that how I showed you to stand to attention? What's this?
Hey, levez la tête en paix là. Soyez
Head up.
fiers de votre état, des futurs
Be
légionnaires.
proud of your future as legionnaires.
Serre-moi ton ceinture.
Well, some of you.
Prends le joint, t'enlèves, et tu mets ça.
Right, tighten up your belts.
Code d'honneur de légionnaire.
You know, that kind of stuff where he gets a corrects the recruit, right? He touches him. He's not doing anything trying to hurt the guy, but he's correcting him. I don't know if you can do that today. And you know, I like how, I mean, they're into this thing, what, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever. And he wants them to look squared away. He wants them to look like they're going to be legionnaires and not like they're going to be some dirtbags who just popped in.
Now we're seeing the code of honor of the legionnaires.
Sors de rang, face à la section.
Nivikov, step out of the ranks, raise your head.
Pense à tes camarades.
Come over here.
Mets la garde-vous correctement.
Stand to attention properly.
Lève la tête.
Head up.
Et puis marche, c'est parti. Légionnaire.
That's better.
Volontaire, servant la France.
Legionnaire, I am a volunteer serving France with honor and loyalty.
Yeah, can you imagine any fighting force, whether it be in the United States, since I did the UK Royal Marine reaction video, can you imagine somebody coming from Chad to Royal Marines and not knowing English and being able to function? I mean, any force would be the same. These guys take people from all over the world and put them into this, and you will learn French. It's pretty amazing how this works in today in 2020.
And every legionnaire is
Sa race ou sa rue légion.
C'est une grosse merde.
that's
Ah,
crap.
j'ai remarqué.
I noticed. Coca-Cola and chocolate makes you soft. I've told you, take coffee, black coffee, that gives you the knack. No chocolate, no milk, and any of the other things. Otherwise, you'll completely lobotomize yourself.
You know, there's something to that for the health nuts out there. It really makes you get those big spikes and you get the highs and the lows. And, you know, there was a recruit we had in boot camp, and he was like the Iron Marshmallow. Could do all the stuff, but look soft, and they didn't allow him to have milk. They said, you don't need milk. You look fat. You know, so similar stuff to the U.S. Marines. I like these guys.
À droite, droite.
Face right.
Commençons par colonne d'engagés volontaires Oulière. On fait des rangs pour les autres ports.
Break out. They have everything they need in various languages, and the Legion's Code of Honor comes from here in the heart.
Ils ont des traductions dans toutes les langues, donc ils savent qu'est-ce qu'il y a à apprendre. Donc ça, c'est bien.
Learning the honor code is obligatory.
You know, everybody's got an honor code, but it's pretty interesting how that's a really day one, right? Day one, they're saying focusing on this honor code of what being a Legionnaire means. And hopefully they get into it, because I'm not familiar with it, but I mean, they really focus on some core principles right off the bat to get these guys from being whatever country they're from to being Legionnaires. And they really focus. You keep seeing Legionnaires, Legionnaires. You know, not French, but Legionnaires.
If a French-speaking recruit knows he has to help Houdin, the Kazakh. After 1 week of tests and observation, what's at stake is getting the work contract. Okay, the committee can begin its work. We've got 30 candidates today, and we can only take 17 of them, in theory. Okay, let's start with the first, Bernier. Well, he's open, he's communicative, educated. Yes, good. He's already passed the military degree course. He's spent 6 years in the regular forces. I have a favorable opinion, too. Good candidate.
You see there, they already got a board set up, and these guys have been here a week. And we got a board of their instructors saying, hey, we can take half of these guys. That's not even who's going to fall out because they get hurt. We can take half these guys. They're already making determinations who they think's going to fit. Right? We haven't even got into like hardcore training yet. It's pretty different than a lot, forces at this point in training. Hey, if you like the content, do me a favor. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification so when other videos come out, you know about it. Like and share the video.
He's hired.
Oh, wow.
Next. The only question mark is a dubious love affair. He thought seriously about it before making his decision to come here. Okay. Well, let's see. Okay, we'll take him. Volunteer recruit Zuber.
How often does that happen where they ask you the question why you want to join the Legion, and he didn't say he had a love affair. Check back again to the first one. He's in it. They think he did, and they're still, maybe. We'll take the guy. So they're pretty. It looks like selection on this, and we're not talking about some special forces selection. We're talking about just getting in to the good stuff coming up, right? To the stuff you think about when you're in the military, the shooting guns and making things go boom.
Bykov, very motivated. He never even got his visa, so he crossed the borders illegally to get here.
Pas trop mal pour lui. Donc il essaie d'obtenir un visa qu'il n'a pas pu obtenir. Il a obtenu simplement un visa pour la Pologne.
Well, he got a visa for Poland, but beyond that, he made his own way here, so he's very determined.
En février à la nage, donc je pense qu'il est particulièrement motivé. Alors,
I like the guy already. He's got scars on his face. Probably been in some fights. Probably got some moxie and some grit. We U.S. needs tough guys like this. And obviously the French appreciate a guy who, is in the country illegally. He wants to be there so bad he breaks laws to get there, to join the fighting force. Right? Not to get free stuff, but to join, the Legion to protect France.
engagé volontaire Rudin.
Rudin, the Kazakh, Nielsen, the Brazilian, and Munteanu, the Romanian, also received their employment contracts. They are no longer candidates.
Wow.
They're now successful recruits.
Some place to get
The first step.
and
one that allowed them to start their
introduced.
training in earnest.
Is that right?
They have now signed up to serve 5 years with honor and loyalty. But even the slightest wrong move, and they'll be shown the way out. Vortex jacket in the bag.
Now they're getting their gear, right? They figure out, they get in that tracksuit, the blue tracksuit, figure out they're going to fit. If they've got even the first modicum of, interest that's just beyond getting the passport, then they get their gear. I like it. So if you want to go in the U.S. military, and question for you guys, should our military do that? You got a period of a couple weeks, right? They can say, this guy's a fit. We can get rid of them, or they can leave. And then if they don't want to be there, they're not just suffering through, and that, we get it on the back end as Marines or soldiers when somebody doesn't want to be there. So question for you is, should the U.S. institute this? They got a 2-week period, and then they're out, or they can leave. Let me know below in the comments.
They received their first pack, the fighting man's kit, and also the famous white kepi of the Legionnaires. The kepi is still wrapped in plastic. Don't touch the kepi. That's just to try it on. We haven't the right to wear it yet. It's just to try. We're still not Legionnaires yet. No, long way to go.
That's what the Marines do, right? Earn the right. So they're instilling more. They're making it somewhat of a cult. They're making it into a place you want to be, a fraternity. You have to earn the right to wear the kepi. Earn the right to claim the title, get the Eagle Globe and Anchor. There's something here that I can see as a common thread, right? They're not making it into a thing you do. They're making it into a thing that maybe you get selected to do, and if you earn the right, you get into. That changes the whole motivation about this. I think that's a really important point when you watch how these guys have done it. They're not even fighting for their country. These guys are fighting for France, and they're not even French, right? a big bulk of them, I think 75%.
Meanwhile, they have the Legion's green beret, a beret that Zuba has difficulty in putting on his head. Yeah, it's not a tractor driver's beret, it's the Legion's beret. Put it on properly. The next day, the recruits are leaving for Castelnaudary, near Toulouse, for 4 months' training.
Pas de déchets ici, là, qui revient.
I would say that's some of the longer training in the military. I know the Royal Marines talk about 6 months. The U.S. Marines, we split it up, right? So we've got boot camp. Let's just take a similar type of thing. Boot camp, infantry training, maybe some specialty training. You're probably into it for 6 months. Depending on weekends, like the Royal Marines are getting the weekends off, whatever. But bottom line is, there's only so many ways to train these people to get there. I would say something about the Royal Marines for you, my UK, British followers. They are some amazing PT freaks, outstanding at PT and outstanding at fieldcraft. Guys are awesome. I have no problem with it, but the video got people fired up because I was looking at their training, how undisciplined it was. Let's keep going.
And you'll be under their orders for the next 4 months. Go!
Disposition, hop la saccade.
Allez, en avant! Fermez les sacs.
On the eve of departure, there are those that are happy and those, like Zuba, who have their doubts.
Quelques sentiments d'appréhension.
Well, some apprehension because it's a new start.
I achieved my dream. Here.
That's the Romanian.
After the casting,
Romanian.
I will make my dream to be a legionnaire.
Now, once you guys aren't familiar with the Legion, do a little homework. I did when I saw this. I, watched parts of it. And I try not to watch them before the reaction videos. I was very impressed. You always think about the Legion in old movies. I'm an old guy. Where, people get picked up and get in the Legion and fighting for France somewhere in Africa. Or look at this, too. Take a look at this. The Legion was in Vietnam before the U.S. got into Vietnam. Because that was a French colony. And if I'm wrong in my history, put it below and roast me. But let's keep going.
Narvik, Bir Hakeim, Dien Bien Phu, Kolwezi, the Foreign Legion's battle honors are part of history, looking for adventure. But for the new generation, the Legion also means a secure employment, at least for 5 years.
I like the army because I like it since I was young.
Figure that guy's from Romania, as I recall. So he left. He could have gone into what is now, Russia's military, maybe the Romanian military. And he said, no, I'm going to leave Romania, somehow get to France and fight the Legion, who represents France. That's the key thing they talk about, is you're fighting for the Legion, not France. Interesting concept. I don't really have my mind wrapped around it yet.
I see movies when I was young, little.
On the approach to Castelnaudary, the train passes the Danjou district, the Foreign Legion's instruction and training center. Near the barracks, in a farm cut off from the rest of the world. This is where the recruits spend their first month of training. Well, if you're not tired, you can redo the whole circuit. Look, where are the targets? Where's the enemy?
They're already getting in to like some pretty real, what you think of as military training, right? Preparing when troops, your comrades are going to cross, covering them, cover and move, doing things as a team, right off the bat. It's pretty impressive because, the guys want to be there. The guys that didn't, they kicked out. And again, that's the thing. The question I want you to answer is, should we do that as U.S. military? If you don't want to be there, you're not stuck. Get out. And if we don't want you there after maybe 2 or 3 week kind of, look over, once over phase, you're out. We don't have to go through this long, drawn-out process of people to suffer through because they want a job and they're going to hate it anyway.
The strain of military training is the first real test for the platoon. The recruits learn to go beyond their physical and mental limits. I want to see how far I can go psychologically.
5 minutes.
You've got 5 minutes to polish your boots. At any moment, the instructors could send home those that don't make the grade. So the recruits dig in.
You know, there's something to that. I've heard, in particular, Marines I knew that went to SEALs training and became SEALs, talk about, well, polishing the boots, that's just a task, below us, right? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But the point in training, right? The point in training is, can you follow details? Can you, keeping your boots seems like a not a big deal. Who cares, right? But if you can't do that, can you not stay awake during guard duty? Can you not do the things you're told to do? Be somewhere you're told to do it. In training, right? Outside of training, you should be a responsible adult. But in training, that's why they do this stuff. And that was a big deal in the Marines. It's changed a lot with desert boots, but...
Présent, caporal! Rassemblement en colonne par 4, colonne couvrée! Je vais passer rapidement. Sinon, je vais m'en occuper, moi. Après, du champ!
Push.
Debout. Abattion.
Up, down.
Abattion. Debout. Abattion.
Si on les stresse pas un petit peu.
If one
Pretty
doesn't
familiar.
apply pressure, they're going to let themselves go. I would say that for this profession, that's no good. You can't let them run free.
Gauche.
Faut pas se permettre de les laisser.
Showers at 2200 and then sleep.
Après la douche. Dodo.
Wow, now that's late. 2200. You civilian types, 10 o'clock, they're eating dinner and sleep. That must be something. I always found when I was in Europe, people ate later. So that must be just the European thing. But man, chow at 2200 and sleep, that's definitely different than I'm used to, but interesting.
But even after a long, hard day, there's no letting up. Everything is done by the clock. It's speed, speed, speed the whole time. You have to rush to eat, rush to wash, rush to dress. Finally, it's time for bed. But before that, there's yet another room inspection.
It's definitely different than the Marines, U.S. Marines. Obviously, probably not the same level of hysteria, screaming and yelling. And they're not being like in the Marine Corps in boot camp, right? You're never really alone. At night, you got a little period of time where you're squaring your gear away. Maybe that's what this is like, just coming in saying, hey, is your gear squared away? How's the room look? Is the place a disaster? That's what this guy's doing.
I don't want to see your towels like that ever again.
Ta serviette est où?
Where's your towel?
Je m'en fous. Est-ce que c'est ma question, Zuber? Réponds à la question que je te pose.
Where's your towel? Just answer my question.
Là-dessous. Qui vous a dit de mettre là-dessous?
Who told you to put the towel down there?
Question, j'attends une réponse.
Personne, caporal.
No one told me to.
Ça, c'est crado.
Press-ups, they call them.
Zuber, tu m'écoutes là? Oui, caporal!
Do you understand what I'm saying now?
Vous dépendez.
Yes, corporal.
So getting smoked, incentive training, obviously is part of, I would say, every military. You screw up, you push. Two things have been accomplished, right? Two things. Hopefully you don't screw up again, and then you get in better shape. What happens towards the end of any of these trainings is they quit smoking people, making them push. Or if they do it, they know you're in such good shape. You can push-ups all day. You can run all day. It doesn't matter. And that's one thing they find as you go on longer is you can't do that. And people are making the same dumb mistakes when you get further down the road.
All right, we'll do these beds up again. Come on.
C'est sale là-dessous.
That's dirty under there. That's... Don't you ever feel like answering back, complaining? That would only be worse. You'd be thrown out straight away and back to being a civilian.
What he's saying, people want to be there. At this point in training, they're like, get out and make it simple. The problem with the U.S. military, you get out the long, drawn-out process. These guys get kicked out of boot camp. This training here, you get kicked out, you're just gone. Get on the bus and go back to Kakistan or wherever you're from. So they want to be there. It's a privilege to be there. I really respect that about this French Foreign Legion training.
Rules.
Là, on a plus le droit de parler.
At the start, the hardest part of the training is not the chores or the physical work, but learning French. Most of the recruits are starting from scratch. 5 means fluent and 0 means nothing. So I put a 5 with a 0,
Je mets un 5.
4 with a 1, and so on. It usually works.
C'est à peu près ce que j'essaie de faire.
That must be a tough deal. You go in, not even know the language, you get to France. I've been to France. Not an easy language. I mean, us Americans are used to speaking English and not other languages, but you get there, now you're being screamed at to think quick, you're nervous, have to learn the language. That's a tough deal.
Munteanu's French is improving rapidly.
Combat, neuf combats.
Quick way to learn, right?
So I learned French in school in Romania, and it's been quite easy to pick it up again.
Facile. Apprendre français. Pour la France.
We're fighting for France.
You know, that's an easy or interesting point, right? Here for the Legion. He didn't say he's here for France. So we're fighting for France, you know. So if you look back, below I'm going to put a link about the history. Take a look in the description. So why the Legion was formed. Obviously, at one point they needed some mercenaries effectively to fight for France. They didn't have enough French to do it. Just continued on. So I really think, and put in the comments, what do you think? Is that an effective way to fight? So the U.S. be getting troops from, if you want to become a citizen, come in from Bolivia, fight for the U.S., come in the right way, put your time in, then you're a citizen. I don't know if that's a bad idea, actually.
1 month later, on the assault course, and the volunteers are beginning to look like legionnaires.
Connaissance de tes actes, allez en avant. Là, tu peux en appuyer. À partir d'ici, zone ennemie.
This is the hostile zone now.
Perroquet, comme on a vu hier.
Looks like that's a similar thing that we all do, you know. Get in a barbed wire. And they always like to make the water nasty, wet, and cold because no one likes that. If it were warm and a sunny day, it's a lot easier nasty, wet, and cold. Which, unfortunately, most of the time you're somewhere, it's going to get to your brain. It's going to be nasty, wet, and cold.
Mort, il chauffe.
Keep an eye out.
Son binôme qui passe devant. Pap, pap, pap.
You go up by twos.
N'oubliez pas, vous êtes deux.
Don't forget you're working in
High
teams of
crawling
two.
there.
Allez, passe devant, toi. Je reste ici, je parle pas français là, j'ai dit à l'autre, tu commences à parler.
You know, why are they going in twos, right? Why not just by yourself for time? It's back to the cover and move thing. So it's easy if you've got your buddy covering for you, aka putting rounds on range. You run to the next spot. He covers you, he shoots, you run to the next spot, so you're kind of leapfrogging along the way. You know, it looks like all military teaches that, because what other way is there if you're under fire trying to get somewhere? And that could be for 2 people, that could be for 30. It's an important tactic to learn in basic military training.
Baisse la tête. Allez, go.
Gas.
Allez, possible, d'accord. Allez, pas masse dans le dos, pas masse dans le dos. Allez, go, c'est parti là. Doucement de
Its reflexes are so
You know, any of these O courses, they're trying to simulate, if you are in this case, in somewhat of a rural environment, when you have to get across a wall, and you know, the stuff, they only simulate so much. Urban's easier, right? So you can do some buildings and do some CQB, kick down doors and get up on top of roofs. Trying to do this kind of stuff is how you get from A to B in an area like this where simulating crossing a wall, feet are wet. He doesn't have gear on yet, right? So you throw some gear on, the rifle, maybe for a radioman. It makes it a lot more difficult to do, especially when people are shooting back at you. Things going bang your direction.
Appui mutuel.
Ça vous plaît, ça?
Ah, j'adore ça, moi.
Pourquoi?
stuff that we've forgotten. You know, life's been too soft. We've lost the skills to watch, to listen and react to.
This is a young guy, right? How many times have you heard this recently? Life's been too soft. You appreciate about some about these guys where they realize they're probably pretty soft. Now they grew up, and this is going to change them. Looks like a pretty tough dude, but that's an interesting comment.
Joe. To be warlike. After 20 minutes, Zuba is showing signs of fatigue.
À partir d'ici. Allez, jusqu'au bout, jusqu'au bout.
Qu'est-ce que vous observez en fait là?
It's like a pretty good kind of oak course, tactical course, you know, especially where they're at in training. This is pretty quick into it, but they're already doing some tactics. You know, they get PT in, you know, it's a couple things accomplished. Tactics, PT, how do they move under stress, they take direction. So lots covered in this kind of thing. Pretty quick, which I find very impressive how they're covering it right off the bat. Let's see how you do. And you're getting all the components in. The PT, obviously they're gassed.
Well, their reactions when they're exhausted. You see they're out of breath, they're tired. We'll see how coherent they are at the end of the exercise. You need every last drop of energy.
La sentir. Mais libérer les pulsions et go. Ça va.
You don't even have to know what they're saying, but you know what they're saying, right? I don't say in French. I surely know what he's saying. He's gassed, this is tough, but he loves it, or something along those lines.
After 4 weeks of training, it's time to take stock. By now, the instructors know the recruits and their personalities, and to decide if they have the right stuff to wear the white kepi.
You know, so if you go to training, and a good example, and let's just say you went from the Marines and you would become a SEAL, right? Sometimes that training helps. You know, definitely can help in tactics and things of that sort. But you're getting into just a different type of training. A lot of guys don't make it where they go into a new type of training. My example, the Marine that goes to SEAL training. Maybe something they quit on. Maybe it's something mental, right? Back into that whole mindset, quote unquote, crap you hear. You know, it's something maybe you just don't have it. Maybe you're just not good enough for it and they're not prepared. You know, it's not your thing. But you find out quickly in these situations because you don't know. You don't know. You think you got it. You hope you got it. You're tested and you don't. Nothing to be ashamed of, but that's a reality in a lot of these trainings. So they're going to push you to places you didn't know existed that could really suck.
That's excellent. Really excellent. Zubair, well, he's a little bit more particular. Zubair is what we'd call the intellectual type, but he's been getting down to it lately.
Mais bon, depuis quelque temps, il s'y est mis aussi.
Rudin's a fighter. I think he's all set. He'll be going to the 2nd Regiment of Legion paratroopers.
So they're already selecting, like, the paratrooper comment. They've already said, this guy's squared away, hardcore dude. He's going to go to the paratroopers. So there is no, hey, I signed the contract. I want to go to become 82nd Airborne, jump out of planes. They're going to pick. You know, I think that's an outstanding way. You go to training, and we're going to determine where you go. This force, right, let's just say the French Foreign Legion, is basically going to be an infantry fighting type of force, right? Could be jumping out of planes, could be special ops, whatever you call it, but it's a fighting force, combat arms. We're not doing admin jobs. They're going to select where you go. So you may be a ground pounder, a grunt. You may be special ops guy. You may be, you know, jumping out of planes. But they're picking. That's the best way to do it, right? Because you're getting the people where they need to be based on what the mission set is, not based on somebody being happy in a recruiting poster.
You all know what that means for you. Those that finish will receive their white kepis from General Dari next Monday. The first 25-kilometer stage will be extremely hard on their feet.
One thing I noticed about this, and I wasn't sure in the beginning, but I noticed a real small training classes. So I don't know if there's 15 in this. That's tough just logistically to do for most militaries. But it's pretty good because you know each person in that class. There's no gray man. You're not sliding through because there's terrible people who's outstanding. You're like the gray man, just kind of, no one really knows who you are and you suck at it, but you just slide through. These guys, instructors, know who's good, who's not good, and who's average, right? They're not good or gone. What I can see from this French Foreign Legion video. Ow.
Oh,
that's terrible. I don't know how
I'll just carry on and take care of it tonight, I suppose. I'm not going to give up now. We're halfway there. There's nothing that works as well as some...
French Foreign Legion training. This is part 2, 3-part series.